Our need to affiliate seems to be an inborn thing. It seems to be a basic human trait. We have this desire to associate with other people. There's probably, well, if you want to go back to the most, we'll say, basic idea of human life, affiliating with other people probably gave us some degree of protection. It probably gave us some degree of protection, right? So if you believe in the old adage of there's safety in numbers, so the larger your group, the greater the likelihood that you'll be protected from predators who are bearing in on, closing in on you, and so forth. The other thing is that really, I guess in order to procreate, you have to associate with other people to some extent. I mean, certainly today you don't have to be in a relationship with other people for that to happen. But again, it probably helped to keep you alive, among other things. So, interpersonal attraction. Notice that attraction in this definition does not refer to a sexual attraction to other people. It is simply a social attraction to other people. So why do you like other people? There are a number of things that increase the likelihood of interpersonal attraction. One of them is physical proximity. So your physical nearness to them. So, and the reason for physical proximity is, or something that's closely related to physical proximity, is the mere exposure effect. So the mere exposure effect is simply the idea that the more often that you are exposed to something, the greater the likelihood that you like that something, okay? And so if you are physically close to somebody, you are exposed to them more often. That does not sound right. If you are physically close to somebody, the more often you are around that other somebody, which then increases the likelihood that you will like them. So, if we think about the mere exposure effect, let's just do it a different way. How many of you have ever been driving to work or to college on a Monday, for instance, and you hear on the radio, yes, remember what a radio is, you hear on the radio the world broadcast premiere of some particular song, you listen to it and you think, that's garbage. And then by Friday, after you've heard it 28 times, because you've been exposed to it, right? Or how many of you remember the show Home Improvement? Okay, ask yourself this. If Tim Taylor and Wilson weren't neighbors, would they have been friends? Not likely. They were too different, right? They were two different, but they were neighbors. And because they were neighbors, they lived close to each other. Because they lived close to each other, they saw each other regularly. Because they saw each other regularly, it increased the likelihood that they liked each other. Physical attractiveness, person's degree of physical beauty. What we know about physical attractiveness is this. People generally end up in long-term relationships with someone who is of equal attractiveness as they are, as defined by their society. People usually end up in a long-term relationship with someone who is as equally attractive as they are, as defined by the society, unless somebody brings something else to the table. Have we talked about this before? What's that something else that's usually brought to the table? Money is usually that thing. So, let me show you an example. How many of you remember who Anna Nicole Smith was? Who was Anna Nicole Smith married to? Anna Nicole Smith was a Playboy model. Apparently, people consider her to be attractive. Anna Nicole Smith, I need to put husband here. So that's Anna Nicole Smith, and this is her husband. I think she did too. She loved him. She loved him because of his huge bank account. Thank you. I'm glad you finished it with those words. His huge bank account. This guy, whatever his name was, he was a billionaire. Probably the night of their wedding. No. Let me just see if it will tell us here. J. Howard Marshall was his name. I was looking right here. She made him 13 months. They were married for 13 months. So, when an attractive person is in a relationship with an unattractive person, it's usually because the unattractive person brings something else to the table, and what that is usually money. Hey folks, no, I don't hate to do this. I'll show you another one. So we need to find a pre-picture is what you're saying? But again, ask yourself this. So, and again, if he wasn't worth billions, if he didn't have that much money, would she be with him? I gotta guess, probably not. Same with Anna Nicole Smith and so forth, and whoever else. The halo effect, the tendency to generalize a favorable impression to unrelated personal characteristics. We've already talked about the halo effect, haven't we? Yes, we've already talked about the halo. That's what I thought. Okay. So we tend to think that beautiful people are smarter people, they're more friendly people, they're more trustworthy people, they're more dependable. You, in all likelihood, and those are the key words, in all likelihood, will end up in a long-term relationship with somebody who is highly similar to you. I don't care what you think, opposites do not attract. Let me just go back for a moment. Opposites might attract for a little while. Opposites might attract in a minority of cases, okay? In the vast majority of situations, though, similarity is what attracts people. It's going to add to the mix, right? Notice here that your significant other is not going to be identical to you in terms of everything. They're going to be similar to you. So what we could have, as an example, you could have a Liberal and an NDP come together. They could be in a relationship because they're similar. They're certainly more similar than an NDP and a Conservative. So you're probably not going to have an NDP or a Conservative come together. They're too opposite from one another. But NDP and Liberal are more similar, or anybody on the left-hand side of the political spectrum could come together because they're similar. Again, it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be identical to the other person. It's just that you are going to end up married to someone who is very much like you in terms of their major belief systems, in terms of their major values and ideologies. Because here's the thing, and this is not just for relationships. This is for relationships, but not just long-term personal relationships. This is for every relationship. It's very comforting to know that the people that you like and love have the same thoughts and values and beliefs that you do. It's very comforting to know that you agree with me, I agree with you, and we have similar thoughts and opinions about things. So even though it might open up your mindset, I mean, I've had conversations with my brother-in-law that make me want to bang my head off the wall, okay, and bang his head off the wall. Like things when he says that teachers are overpaid, because in my opinion, elementary school teachers should be paid more than baseball players should be, but that's just my own opinion, right? Bryce Harper, who's got a $330 million contract over the next 13 or 14 years, and yet we have teachers who are struggling to make $40,000 a year, and then, oh, by the way, they have to buy their own school supplies. But teachers are overpaid. The other one he said is that teachers are nothing more than babysitters. Again, bang my head off the wall. Bang my head off the wall. Oh, you wouldn't believe, when he said that, you wouldn't believe the long list of things. It was mostly me commenting back, and I was angry. And I, again, don't even consider myself, because I think when he talks about teachers, he's talking about like kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2 teachers. And I mean, quite frankly, if you think you can do it, go ahead and do it. Okay, so this is how you move from a friendship to a more personal relationship, is through self-disclosure. So maybe you're friends to start with, and then you expect or you want this relationship to move a little bit further and deeper. At some point in time, you need to start to tell the other person about the secrets you have in your closet. You need to tell them about those types of things. That's self-disclosure, disclosure, sorry. And it is based, relationships growing and evolving is based on the norm of reciprocity. So when someone does something nice for you, you are supposed to return the favor. So when they tell you about themselves, you should then return the favor and tell them about you. That's the sort of thing. Be careful about over-disclosure. It exceeds what is appropriate for a relationship. I'm going to suggest, for instance, that a first date is not the time to tell the other person about the number of sexual partners you've had in your life. I don't think that's the time or the place. That's at least a second or third date type of thing.